Hurt me, baby.
All right. Another week, another dime, another dollar, Chadley.
Another week, another pod.
Another pod.
Yeah, very, very exciting pod this week. Welcome to the Movie Epidemic podcast.
Really exciting pod. Why do you say that?
Because we're in the middle of Doc Martin's Doc March.
Oh, Doc Martin's?
Yeah, Doc Martin's. We are watching a ton of documentaries this month, but of course we're also watching...
Why, you ask? Because they're better. That's simply what it comes down to.
Documentaries, look, here's the thing, is that I didn't watch it like that many documentaries up until about a year ago, and man, I just can't stop now. I simply cannot stop. It's superior film.
Because here's the thing about this show is you guys don't listen unless there's a theme to it.
Yeah, apparently. So we're in Doc Martin's, but of course we are watching a couple of other movies. We're starting our biggest ever undertaking for a franchise.
This just in. The Universal Monsters Retrospective starting today.
Yeah, starting today with Dracula, 1931. A lot of really interesting stuff there. Bela Lugosi. My boy Bela Lugosi. The documentaries that we are watching today are Fyre. What's the full title? It's like Fyre, the festival that...
the greatest festival that never happened.
The greatest festival that never happened. Yeah, that's what it is. And then the other one we're talking about is a bit of an older movie, but it actually just became popular as it was picked up by Netflix, and that was Abducted in Plain Sight.
Yeah, it debuted at a festival a couple years ago, and then Netflix just recently picked it up when it replayed at a festival, I think.
yeah. It played at a festival once, and then it disappeared.
That'll happen. That's why I like going to festivals.
Yeah.
Because that'll happen.
Yeah, sometimes they
like that weird Chinese movie that has the 3D in the middle of it with a 50-minute uninterrupted take. You ever hear about that fucking movie again? No, you haven't, because you'll never see it again.
There's no distribution for that. But of course, we also have to get in our topical movie review, and so we're also going to be talking about Alita Battle Angel. That's Robby Rodriguez.
Gotta get those earbuds and butts, dude.
James Cameron. I'm sorry, Podcast Bot 5000. I kind of stole your job there without even realizing.
Look at this fucking guy, Chadley, stealing my job.
Yeah, that's okay. I also stole your car.
Excuse me, CIA.
Yeah.
Or FBI. Or Homeland Security.
I think it's FBI.
I have information about Chadley being connected to a terrorist cell. Please contact me for information about Chadley. See, this is what happens, Chadley. When you steal my job, I steal your life.
I'm sorry, Podcast Bot 5000. I also did steal your car, though. That was pretty tight.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, that was super weird. So hit that theme song, and let's get into it.
But here's the thing.
What's that? No theme song today?
Well, I'm thinking that we don't have the theme song because Podcast Bot has to log in all the time, and he has to like. It's just who knows what could happen.
Yeah. Well, Podcast Bot 5000 is pissed off at me, so he might not even play the theme song. Oh, wait, there he goes. He played it like in the middle. That's fine though.
Why don't you play us something, baby?
Start? I don't feel so good.
You can practically see it from here.
Podcast Bot 5000. See, here's the thing, Buck. You think you're gonna not play? You think you're not gonna play the theme song? My only other job on this show.
And while I stole his job, you tried to steal his job.
Here's the thing, Buck. I'm gonna have to send you to Guantanamo Bay for this.
Oh no! Oh shit!
I don't understand what authority.
Does he have the power to do that?
I don't understand on what authority you could do that. I have a direct line to the president via Bryan Singer's butthole.
Yeah. Bryan Singer might be lying to you about your ability to contact
this is
the
getting
president.
off the rails, Podcast Bot. What are you doing?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Podcast Bot 5000. We do love you. So why don't we jump right into it? Because, man, I am antsy to talk about this movie. Let's talk about Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah, fresh eyes.
Fresh eyes. So we literally just
to be
saw
fair,
this movie.
my eyes were barely open.
Yeah, we finished watching this movie about 15 minutes ago. Let's talk about Alita Battle Angel. This is a pretty neat looking movie about the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Here's the thing about Alita. It's when you're talking from a Robby Rodriguez standpoint, this is far more far more Spy Kids than it is Sin City.
Yeah, it's much more palatable to you if you're younger, I think. And while I think this movie's 14A. Hey, guys, let's just tone it down a little. Make it PG because this is a kids movie through and through.
Yeah,
it's a kids movie that's like got Rodriguez violence in it.
It's Shark Girl versus Lava Boy or whatever that movie was.
Yeah, he did make that movie. Do you know he made the 4th Spy Kids movie? I did not know that until last week.
His fingerprint. He's the James Wan of the children's entertainment industry.
Well, yeah, he's made tons of kids movies. Like of course his big stuff, El Mariachi, Sin City, Dame to Kill For. Like it's all ultra violent. But then
Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
What was that? Planet Terror, like
Desperado.
And these are all ultra violent movies. But for some reason, between all these ultra violent movies, he makes these weird kids movies, including, of course, all 4 Spy Kids movies, all fucking 4 he made. Shark Boy versus Lava Girl, Shorts, and now
I forgot about Shorts, but that was the one I was thinking of.
Shorts is really bad. Shorts is by far the worst movie he's ever made, and he's made some bad movies. But now I feel like Rodriguez is confused because he's like, I want to make one of these ultra-violent movies. And they're like, all right, you're allowed to. And he's like, but I'd also like to make a movie for 14-year-olds that maybe less, maybe younger.
It's for young kids.
Yeah, like it's a movie for young kids.
It has a protagonist that is like dubbed 13 at the beginning.
It's only palatable for children, like that protagonist.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can relate to that character is if you're a young kid. Yeah, and that is the problem, is that it feels like Rodriguez doesn't know which one of his genres he wants to do here, so he just tried to do both, and I feel like obviously they made a lot of money. They made a ton of money with this movie.
I have to look that up, actually.
But critically, this blew up in their face because this movie sucks. It's really bad. Now, I don't think this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I think like Cold Pursuit is much worse. Venom is much worse. This isn't.
I think the problem with this one is it's not. I don't think I'm the audience for it. I think this is for 13-year-old girls, and it's probably going to have the same exact effect that The Matrix had on me when I was 13. You know?
Yeah, and I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Holy shit, dude!
What's up?
It's made almost 300 mil foreign, 75 domestic.
Was that all in China?
Yeah, probably.
That's crazy, dude. That's really crazy.
China and Japan probably.
So that's probably
that.
Probably enough to at least fund a sequel. But don't worry, knowing Jim Cameron, he won't make it for another 15 years. And then when he does start making it, he'll get like distracted by other shit.
115 from China.
115. That's actually a lot of for a movie that made 375. 115 coming from China. That's a lot of it.
The majority of it.
Yeah, that's so much of the money. So let's talk about what this movie is about. Alita Battle Angel is an incredibly stupid movie about Christoph, where Christoph Waltz. It's incredibly stupid. Like, we're gonna get that right off the bat. This is incredibly stupid. If you like this movie, you're 12.
But it does. The thing about this movie is it does feel like anime because it's like everything's drawn out. Everything's takes way too long to get to the point, and it has like some of the cheesiest dialogue of all time.
Oh man, and we will get to that. But there are a few other things I want to discuss first. First things first. Let's talk about what this movie's about. So Christoph Waltz is this robot doctor who, and by the way, there is way too much shit in this movie for its length.
For sure.
It's 2 hours, and they try and shove like 90 plot holes or 90 plots down your throat.
Mm-hmm. All while trying to build like a pretty should be dense world, although I don't know what the fuck was ever happening.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the world building too, because there's some stuff about that world that pissed me off a lot. But essentially what it is that Christoph Waltz has found this robot in the scrapyard, and he's rebuilt her, and he's basically treating her as his daughter, and then it turns out, he's like a robot bounty hunter man.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's like, I want to be a robot bounty hunter. And he's like, nah, that ain't you. And then like at some point he just changes his mind and they become bounty hunters together. And they're just like, I don't know. There seems to be like a decent-ish relationship forming between the two where there's a conflict.
Well, the thing is, like, from what I've heard, like the manga is actually like incredibly dense and like was very popular in the 90s.
Okay.
And there's a lot to deal with, and it feels like they just brought none of that world.
Or they brought all of it, but skimmed past all of it. Like they brought so much of that
that's
world
true. It's
into
not,
it.
It's not 5,500 chapters.
Yeah, exactly, right? They brought in so much, and because the movie had to be 2 hours, they're like, okay, we can bring in this, but we only have a minute and 30 seconds to discuss this, and then we got to move on to something else because there's so much shit to jam into this movie. And because they jam so much into this movie, it's almost incoherent. It's incredibly incoherent. I think some of the visuals are okay, but all right, there's a big but because I actually think the visuals are great sometimes. I think the mocap could have been better.
Mocap's not that good.
It's better than Tarkin though in fucking Rogue One though. It looks better than that to be fair. The mocap's not perfect. I think it could be better, but it could also be worse. But a lot of the robot designs are kind of cool.
Yeah, actually, I thought like there's like a lot of the design elements
Yeah.
are pretty good, and you can just straight up snake that from the existing material. So
Exactly, yeah. A lot of the art design, but however, I do think that it walks a very thin line between stylistic and gimmicky. But the bigger problem with the visual effects is that even though they had all this cool stuff, they shot it all in fucking dim lighting. Like, is this just me, or why do so many movies shoot shit in dim lighting lately?
maybe it's just that theater.
It could be that theater, yeah. But although we said the same thing about Solo, and I rewatched that on Netflix, guess what? Dim lighting. That movie is fucking dark.
Guys, your fucking red cameras aren't picking up the lighting.
But
hey, look at Soderbergh's movies. Those are bright. Shoots them on the iPhone.
yeah, shoot it on your iPhone. Google Pixel can shoot in 4K, players. But like for example, there's a very, 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 very long bar
One time a
scene.
film student told me that they'd rather shoot on their personal camera. I'm like, hey, my phone can shoot in 4K, and they're like, I don't think that's true. I'm like, okay, film student, shoot on this.
Shoot on this thing. It's 720p, you piece of shit. What was I saying? Yeah, like there's that scene that's really, really long where they're in that bar, which, by the way, that goes on way too long. But also, and like that scene is so dark. Like I feel like there's so much cool stuff going on, but yeah, I mean, I can see it.
Look, if you look at Star Wars and all like the great sci-fis, stuff happened in cantinas.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff went down there. A lot of world building.
And so essentially the problem with this movie is that there is a reason that all the bad guys want Alita to be dead, but it's not really that clear. They just want her to be dead because she's powerful, which is also another big problem with this movie. She's so powerful, there's no conflict.
It's like that anime One Punch Man.
Yeah,
whereas the conflict is he's too good.
yeah, she's so strong.
Yeah.
That I at no point was worried that she was in any type of danger.
Because like anytime someone would show up, she'd just like slice him in half with a sword that she stole.
And they briefly explain why she's that strong, but man, it's just which also brings me to my next point. God, I have so many points on why I don't like this movie. Everything in this movie is so fucking convenient. Holy shit!
Yeah,
man,
he just found the head in a junkyard.
Yeah, and she just and
where did she come from?
And Hugo just so happens to have found the spaceship that had her actual body on it.
Right.
And then like at that scene where
we gotta talk about Hugo too. Don't let me forget about that.
Don't worry. We're coming back.
Okay, it's on your agenda.
Yeah, because we could go on about this for 45 minutes.
We're already like 20 in. So.
And then like just conveniently when she's searching for that really insanely large guy, which was funny by the way.
Straight up looking like the Kingpin.
Yeah, yeah, he did look like it. That's what I thought too. But like they're in that bar and they're like, we should go searching for him, and bam, he bursts through the door, and it's like, how mighty convenient for you.
Yeah, that's tough.
I like the dog guy though. There was a guy who
trained straight up kill that dog though. That's cool.
Yeah. Which I hate, and I hate that shit. But
they don't show it though.
There's a guy who trains robot dogs, and I was like, I'm into that. Definitely into that.
Yeah, he seemed cool.
So like I feel like we've sort of circled around a lot about what this movie's about, and mostly because this movie is so ADHD that I don't even think Rodriguez knows what it's about.
But it's a simple plot line.
Because it is, but it's about bounty hunting, but then it's also like a sports movie about
the sports ball section.
There's
and like the whole teen romance is the worst thing in this
The
movie.
teen romance is absolutely the worst thing in this movie. Now, before we talk about Hugo in great detail, let's talk about some performances, because I think there are some great performances in here. I like that even though Rodriguez came with the most dog shit script of all time, Mahershala Ali just going 150 anyways.
So good. It's like he's in a different movie because everyone else's stilted ass anime acting is unbelievable.
Really bad. But Mahershala Ali is amazing in this movie.
And you can tell he also did one take. He is just a better actor.
Yeah.
That's just what it comes down to.
Mahershala Ali, incredible. And I like the girl, too. What's her name? She was like the other doctor character who like fixed the bad guy with the kingpin arms. I forget what her name is.
Sareen or something.
Yeah, it's the Sharon.
Yeah. We're getting closer to it.
We're definitely. And she was okay, not the worst. Christoph Waltz.
What happened? What happened?
Two-time Academy Award winner.
Christoph Waltz. What happened?
I've never seen Christoph not give a shit.
When Christoph was on screen, I had to convince my body not to give up.
Christoph Waltz.
Dude, I felt like I was a fighter pilot that was pulling out of a lot of G's, and my face was just like I was going unconscious. You know, like in Top Gun when they're like trying to tell him to stay conscious so he can pull out. That's what it felt like every time he was on screen because he did not give a shit. One take Christoph.
Christoph Waltz clearly is A, not familiar with the source material, B, doesn't give a shit about the source material, and C, has absolutely no intention of being here for this. Because his acting, his eyes aren't open.
Buddy's eyes just straight are closed, dude.
Christoph Waltz is terrible in this movie. The main girl is okay. I think she's okay. Nothing special. I don't think she's leading lady material.
I thought she was terrible, dude. The thing about Christoph Waltz is he's showing up and he's like... Dude, he's just Christoph Waltz straight up showing up to get money, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But you thought the main girl was terrible? I didn't think she was that bad.
Dude, every time she started talking...
the dialogue is bad.
I was like, has this person ever acted before?
Funny you say that, because that is definitely how I thought about the character of Hugo. That dude
I agree.
That never fucking acted.
He is much, much worse than
Alita.
Isn't her name like Rose something?
Rosa something, yeah. But the guy who plays Hugo, who's like the romantic lead in this movie, has never acted before. I would bet my entire salary, a year's salary, that person until maybe today... Rosa Salazar, yeah. Until maybe today has never acted. He is so unbelievably shitty. Maybe the worst performance I've seen in a movie in like over a year. I truly, genuinely do not understand how.
Do you want to hear his other credit?
I do. I'd love to hear what else he's in.
Seems like a TV show that ran for one season.
Sounds right.
One, possibly 2 seasons, called Spooksville.
Spooksville. That's his only other credit?
On Discovery Family Channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? Actually, that sounds right to me, though. But yeah, he is absolutely fucking horrible. And just like the way that because he's fucking the robot. Like
he's fucking the robot. You know, they make him take his shirt off.
Elephant in the room. He tries to fuck a robot, and he gets damn close to succeeding. The only reason he doesn't fuck the robot is because this bad boy's PG-13.
Yeah, dude.
If this movie,
Jamie Cameron was like in the producer's chair, and he's like, he's got to fuck the robot.
I think Rodriguez might have been pushing for fucking the robot.
Doesn't seem like Rodriguez is into that anymore.
Yeah, he's not.
Machete.
Oh yeah, Machete kills in space. Yeah, maybe you might be right, but James Cameron definitely wanted him to fuck the robot.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird thing too, because like especially after he also becomes a robot.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, oh, we're gonna spend our lives together. Which, by the way, they've known each other for like a week at this time.
Not even that long.
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
Maybe like 3 days.
And they're like, we're gonna spend our lives together, and all this shit like about how like they belong together. But you're both robots. I don't even know how it works.
Yeah, she's like, I'm a robot now. I'll do the fingering.
yeah. What happens? He got no robot dick.
What happened?
He got no robot dick. You know, I don't know. But the part where he kisses the robot is like when I get physically uncomfortable. But then there's also.
But you loved it in Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, I do love it in Blade Runner. Actually, no, I actually don't love it in Blade Runner.
You don't like that scene either?
No, I find it creepy actually.
I don't like it in the original Blade Runner when when Harrison Ford forces himself upon the robot.
Oh, I guess I do like it when Ryan Gosling fucks the robot.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's the fun stuff. There's also like a part where like she tries to give him her literal heart, and it's like, wow, not even gonna
that was about the first time I thought about slicing my own throat.
Like we're not even gonna be a little bit subtle. Hey, Robert Rodriguez, you're just gonna put your themes out on the table for us to fucking for us to either accept or deny. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Denied. Oh man, this movie is bad. And like I don't think it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I think there's redeemable moments, but man, they're few and far between, and it's so long.
It's so long.
It's over 2 hours, which for a movie like this is okay. Look, a movie like this either has to be 140 or 250. Nothing in between. If this movie was 250 and it had like some more time to flesh out its ideas, maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have been way worse. I don't know.
No, I think it would have been good.
Yeah, I think if they took more time, you had used Valerian as an example earlier.
Yeah, Valerian is the superior version of this.
Yeah, and I also don't like that movie either.
But look at the world building compared to that. At least you knew where you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this movie, it takes place in Iron City, and I've heard that the Iron City escape room does a much better job at
the escape room?
figuring. Yeah, they did. They're doing like a pop up in like Chicago, L.A., New York, where it's like this Alita escape room that you have to win points and stuff, and you're in like the casinos and like.
Oh, that's cool. Because like that's the shit. Like they kept
like
showing shit like that.
Yeah.
Like but then nobody would interact with that at all. Like they'd show you like the.
And I
the
never
shady
knew
parts
where
of town.
anybody ever was.
Yeah. And then sometimes they'd just be like skateboarding, which they do way too much of that. They're like skateboarding, and then
I didn't realize this was critically acclaimed Skate Kitchen.
yeah, and then for some reason, like a lot of alleys, they're just like in alleys a lot.
Yeah, dude, it's just incomprehensible. I didn't know where the fuck anyone was at any point.
Now let's talk about the world building just a little bit more, because let's talk about probably the dumbest fucking thing in this movie, and that is the fact that, first of all, bounty hunters in this movie are called hunter warriors.
That's the most Japanese thing ever, though.
For love of
That's just
fuck.
Japanese.
Like,
because this movie is so Japanese, we haven't even mentioned that yet. Christoph Waltz straight up has an anime hammer, dude.
yeah, it's Japanese, but it's also like it's
his
also
name's
very American.
Dr. Ito, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
Japanese name,
Yeah,
Dr. Ito.
He's an American named Ido with a German accent, but that German accent sounds like it's almost gone now. Like,
It's
to be
almost
honest,
gone. Yeah, he's been here too long.
Yeah, he might not have it anymore. But let's talk about the hunter warriors, because like the idea behind the hunter warriors is that they go around trying to find these people. They're bounty hunters. They're looking for bounties. They kill the people. They get money for killing the people. But then, without warning, 3/4 through this movie, almost at the end, we're basically at the end, they suddenly introduce this hunter warrior law book. And they start talking about hunter warrior law. And I'm like, I am sorry, nobody mentioned this once until it was relevant. Until that one scene where they're like, if you go forward, you're going to break hunter warrior law. And it's like, you're going to break what? I'm sorry, I'm an audience member, and this is the first I'm hearing.
You're just letting me in on it now.
Yeah, you're just letting me in on the ground floor here?
The most egregious sin of all, though, is this
Yeah.
movie doesn't even finish.
No, it doesn't finish, and that pisses me off too. So much so that, and you can vouch for this, the second the directed by Robert Rodriguez thing came up on the screen,
Well, actually, I think the logo for
oh
Alita
yeah,
Battle Angel showed up
the
first.
logo for Alita Battle Angel came up, and I went, no. That's what I did. I yelled that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people heard me, because the reason I said no is because I knew, based on the way this movie ended, for some reason Edward Norton is the bad guy. They reveal that. Yeah, it
I
might
don't
have
know
been
if that was actually him or not. 'Cause
Yeah.
I couldn't tell from the bad
lighting.
mocap and lighting.
So as soon as the movie ended, I said no, really loud, because they're gonna try and make more of these movies,
And they are.
and they absolutely are made enough
Rodriguez
money.
is a little cash. He's a little cash cow pig.
I think it made just
a big
enough
bear
money. It made just enough money to warrant a maybe smaller budget sequel.
300 mil ain't nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, but a movie like this movie must have cost at least 125.
Sure.
Like it looked pretty expensive. So 300 mil, 125, like that's a pretty good return.
At least it didn't make 125.
Yeah, that's very true. Like Jupiter Ascending, which made maybe less
That
than
made
125.
way less. And that made like 25 domestic.
Oh man, and that movie does a better job of world building, and that movie's also bad.
That movie's a lot worse.
Yeah. Than Alita?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Wachowskis don't got it.
No, dude. This movie's way worse. Rodriguez don't got it, dude.
Nah, Rodriguez got it.
Rodriguez has made 2 good movies, player.
3.
Yeah, maybe. I might give you a 3, because Once Upon a Time in Mexico is good.
Yeah.
And El Mariachi.
Yeah, and Desperado.
Well, Sin City. Sin
He made
City's
4 good ones. Then.
okay. Sin City's
you
okay.
can't say that Sin City is better than Desperado. Desperado's the best of the trilogy.
You might have me there. But also, we were just able to name 4 good Rodriguez movies, and he's made 50. You know?
Machete.
No, Machete is bad.
Machete.
Machete is bad. So is Machete Kills. I haven't seen Machete Kills in Space yet because it's not out. But when it does come out, we will review it. I will give it a 1.
Machete.
It will
Did
be
we
bad.
do a Machete retrospective, or did we just review one? I think we reviewed one of them, didn't we?
No, I don't think we ever reviewed Machete Kills when it came out. I think we.
You know what's happening after Spookytober this year?
No.
Machete Kills retrospective.
I just refuse. I simply refuse. Yeah. So ultimately,
Danny Trejo and Badass retrospective.
yeah. So in my written review of this movie, I described this movie very simply as just a incredibly stupid waste of time. This movie is a waste of time. I wish I could get my 2 hours back. What felt like 2.5.
Well, I bet the listeners want their 27 minutes back for us talking about Alita. What do we got next, Chadley?
All right. So before we go on,
Oh, you want to give it the Chadsky scale?
1 star.
1 star. That's correct.
Yeah,
that's the rating.
1 star on the Chadsky scale. It's
But
not quite a half.
But it's not for me, so that's why it doesn't get the coveted half star.
Yeah, it's not quite a half. It's not the worst, but it's incredibly bad. Let's talk Firefest.
Hell yeah, dude. Ja Rule. Don't tell Ja Rule.
Don't tell
Ja Rule.
Ja Rule might be mad if he knew we watched the movie. He's boycotting the movie. He's trying to get people to stop watching it. Oh, who's at the door?
Hey, it's me, Shitty Ja Rule.
Oh, hey, shitty Ja Rule.
I heard you guys are talking about my movie, Shitty Ja Rule here.
Well, it's not your movie. In fact, I would say it's actually kind of like a.
You guys don't know the full story. I'm Shitty Ja Rule.
I watched the movie. I know the whole story.
No. You don't know the whole story. This was produced by the Fuck Jerry guys.
Was it produced? Is that true?
Yeah, that actually is true. Thank you for that information, Shitty Ja Rule.
Yeah, thank you, Shitty Ja Rule. I'm glad that we were able to bring that information.
Which is why which is the only problem with this doc is that it's produced by the Fuck Jerry guys, and it makes them come out very clean at the end of this. Like they're wiping their hands, even though they had a lot to do with why it was successful.
We're victims. We're victims.
They didn't pay us. We're victims.
Okay, so
motherfucker.
But here's the thing. This doc's fucking insane.
It's fucking crazy.
It's
Firefest
really
is so
crazy.
insane, dude.
So, for those of you who don't know, Fyre, the festival that never happened, or whatever this movie's called, this movie is about a festival that was touted to be like a high-end luxury music festival, like exclusive
on an
festival
island that
on a
Pablo Escobar owns.
yeah on Pablo Escobar's island, and it was like how much for a ticket? It was like $3,000 for a ticket
For like the main one, but then they were selling like all those cabana deals that were
For,
like
like,
25 grand.
Yeah, and then there was like the house deal that was like $250,000 for a ticket, and it's like that's crazy.
Yeah, and people were buying that shit.
And it sold out.
Sold out.
It sold out.
Sold everything. They they were lying and putting up more just so they could get money.
Yeah.
There was no money.
Yeah. So the big problem with this is that they were selling all these tickets while they hadn't solidified anything. And so you know what their biggest misstep is that they were asked not to use Pablo Escobar's name in any of the marketing, and then they used it in all the marketing and got kicked the fuck off that island. And so they had to find a different island. This movie, like every step, because like I was so uncomfortable. This movie makes you feel very anxious.
Yeah.
And I was really uncomfortable watching this movie because from the moment this movie starts, they tell you what the idea is, and you're like, that is an amazing idea.
Well,
you know,
it's cool because they kind of build, at the beginning, they build Billy McFarland up as like kind of like a successful businessman.
Yeah, and a guy with a lot of good ideas, because that is what he is at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning
And
of
you
the
can
movie.
tell like he is a salesman. He's going to get some shit done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seems like he could.
And he's got so many great ideas, and he's so optimistic, and he's always pushing forward and persevering. And they come up with this idea for Firefest, and without solidifying
Ja
anything,
Rule.
with Ja Rule, who by the way is in this movie a lot.
But don't worry, he didn't go to jail.
Yeah, did Ja Rule not go to jail?
No,
he
dude.
probably should have.
He was pleaded complicit or whatever. He's like, I didn't know what was going on. It's me shitty Ja Rule.
Oh man. So Billy McFarland sort of has this idea for this luxury music festival, and like he just starts advertising it immediately and
On
selling
social
tickets.
media. Like that's the whole point. It's how like kind of social media and the vanity of social media really.
the vanity, as well as like there's not like a lot of laws based around marketing on social media.
Well, yeah, there wasn't any until this happened.
Yeah,
actually.
So this is a big turning point. So essentially what happened is that a lot of people called it fraud, or false advertising, as Shitty Ja Rule calls it.
It's not fraud, Chadley. It's false. It's
false advertising.
It's not fraud. It's false advertising.
So, like, as this movie begins and all these ideas come out and they're solidifying money, they're solidifying, what do they call, like, the people who, like, post on their social media, like the famous people, so they, like, contributors.
Influencers.
Yeah, influencers. That's what the word is. Influencers. They're getting all these famous models to do the video shoot, and they're getting all these amazing acts. Amazing acts. I don't know. Blink-182. I don't know if I would spend a lot of money to see. You can see Blink-182 for $80 in a bar now, but
no, they still sell.
Not as much. But
Yeah, you'd be surprised. But Travis Barker was on Joe Rogan's podcast
Talking about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, because he was in, I don't know if you ever heard, he was in like a plane crash that killed a bunch of people, and he was like completely lit on fire, and he had like 3rd-degree burns all over his body.
Jesus Christ.
So he doesn't fly at all. So he's like, to get there, I would have had to drive down to Florida, get on a boat for 3 days to get to the location. And he's like, that wasn't happening. That was never going to happen.
But like the weird thing about this movie is that at the very beginning of the movie, you're like, their plan is foolproof.
Yeah. Well,
How could this possibly fuck up? Like, how could this possibly go south? It seems like everything's going according to plan. And then little by little, this movie picks at the threads.
And it's like, because when it comes down to it, even for a few $1 million, you can't throw this festival.
Yeah.
Impossible. You can't throw a festival in an established city for that much.
Yeah, that's true.
Not on somewhere that has no infrastructure.
No internet, no plumbing, no nothing.
No infrastructure. It's a deserted island essentially.
Yeah, it's an island that used to have a person on it 50 years ago who was trying to stay off the grid. And then, like, little by little, this movie picks away at the infrastructure. They keep firing people who are saying that it can't happen. One of the craziest thing that happens in this movie is that they have that guy, like that sort of Eastern European guy, who's like the pilot, but also like the event coordinator.
Oh yeah,
And
this movie is crazy because there's so many people involved that just eventually just had to drop out because they knew it was too insane.
they're like, yeah, this is fucked. And that guy, I think I feel like his name was Klaus, but that might be
I think
wrong.
it was actually.
So Klaus, like this guy Klaus is like, he gets in and he's trying to coordinate and do like the logistics for this festival.
Yeah, and he's like, you can't do this.
He's telling them things they don't want to hear. He's like, look, you guys are selling 5,000 tickets. I'm telling you, you can get 1,000 people on this island. And they're like, wow, we can get 5,000 people on there. And then they fire that guy, and then they bring on Andy, the other event coordinator, who I love.
The greatest character in cinema history.
The fucking best dude on the entire planet.
We'll talk about it later, but both of these docs have a standout moment in them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And for this, it's the dick-sucking king of the world.
The dick-sucking king of the world, yeah. So at one point, they're trying to get water across the border, and it's going to cost them like $175,000 in customs.
Yeah.
And Billy McFarland, who is a bad man, by the way, calls up this guy. He's the event coordinator. He's incredibly successful. He's been doing this for 30 years and is like, look, man, you got to take one for the team. We don't have the $175,000, so you got to go down and suck this guy's dick. And like that scene was fucking bananas.
It's one of the greatest things ever captured on film, and that's I haven't seen too many movies this year, but that is why this movie is the tippy top of my list because that is too shocking. To not be there.
It's
currently.
really crazy. But here's the weird thing about this movie is that like when I started watching this movie, I was like, why didn't I ever hear about this?
Oh, really? Because I heard about it so much.
And okay, but yes. I was like, why haven't I ever heard about this? But then you get to the end of the movie, and they're talking about like how all of these luxury condos or whatever are just like these shitty Hurricane Katrina tents or Hurricane Timothy or whatever it was, and like everything's soaked, and these tents are shit, and it's like air mattresses. And then they show the scene where the guy had tweeted out the picture of the cheese sandwich, and I was like, oh. I did hear about this. I remember this picture, and I remember being like, why the fuck is everyone tweeting this picture of a cheese sandwich? I do remember this happening, which is crazy because that tweet got more retweets than any of those models, like the famous models posting about Fyre Festival previously.
But that's because you only need like 7,000 people to come to your music festival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas if you have something funny happening to the affluent dude, when you see that's why this is doing so well and why people are so fascinated by Fyre Fest is because it's affluent getting scammed. Yeah, and that's funny. Free for all.
Yeah. Well, and the crazier thing about this movie is it's like you do feel bad for the people who are actually attending the festival,
but not that bad.
But also not that bad because they're all very rich snobs.
Extremely rich.
Yeah, they're all incredibly rich snobs, and they're like, "Oh, we went to go to our condo, and it was a tent with beds in it." It's like, you can't sleep in a tent with beds in it, like.
But that, to be fair, it's not what they advertised even a little bit.
No, of course not. But like, there are people who are like, "I couldn't sleep in there," and it's like, it's a bed.
Well,
you fucking guy.
I don't think I'd sleep in it either.
Yeah. Well,
and outside on an island covered in bugs with no.
Oh yeah, that's true. That was one of the bigger problems is that there was a big mosquito problem.
Yeah.
As well on the thing. But then like everybody
it's
shows
an
up.
Island, bro. Yeah. You went to an island. Now imagine instead of you were at your resort, you were out just outside the walls of the resort trying to sleep in a tent. Not great.
Not that fun. It's also right by Sandals, so like just go there.
Go to Sandals, you fucking guys.
Yeah. And so, like, as soon as the actual festival starts happening, it's chaos.
Yeah,
it's fucking chaos, and like you almost feel bad for Billy because, like, God, what a mess he's made, and like it's like,
and you can see him break down throughout it too, because like what's so great about this doc is that they actually have so much footage of everything. Right?
Yeah, because we live in this social media age where everybody's
so much footage of everything. That's why there was 2 docs on the same topic. Hulu released one on the day before called Fire Fraud, and that one has a Billy interview in it. They paid him like $120,000 for this interview. He says nothing of value in it. I watched that one also. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's slightly. They do get one guy that's very interesting is the bartender that you know at that party where Ja Rule's like, we're gonna fuck like porn stars.
Oh yeah.
Like the bartender from that became friends with them. and he was like serving the entire time. There's a couple interviews with him that are fucking hilarious. So I think they're actually both worth a watch if you can watch both of them.
Yeah, maybe I'll check out that other one.
It's good,
but
it's not as good.
The craziest thing about this movie is that like as soon as everything starts crumbling, like it's like an episode of Dukes of Hazzard where like you feel like it's gonna end and it's gonna be like, oh boy, how's Billy gonna get himself out of this bucket of syrup? See you next time. But he absolutely like he never does.
I forgot about the tag of this. Once he gets caught, then he just starts selling more fraudulent tickets.
Yeah, he keeps doing more scams under like some guy named Frank under like his name, just starts doing more scams. And it's at that moment you realize, oh, okay.
Why were they allowing him to film that? It's so crazy.
Yeah, so like as soon as he starts, because he starts pulling another scam, because Fyre Festival, it never seemed like it was meant to be a scam, you know? It would never seem like it was intended to be a scam. But then as soon as you do that, you're like, oh, okay, so this guy actually is a piece of shit. And I don't know if it was meant to be a scam, but maybe.
No, that one definitely was a scam. He was selling.
No, the second thing was definitely.
Yeah.
But like Fyre Festival, like it's a scam, but like I don't think he meant for it.
He was
to
still
be.
trying to put on a festival, but he was definitely going to cut corners the entire time. I mean, you can tell that.
Yeah, and then he just starts another scam, and as soon as he does that, you're like, what? You're on parole, motherfucker. Like, what are you doing? And of course, he does end up going to prison, as he should. But this movie is just, it's really, really crazy to watch, and it'll make you feel very anxious and uncomfortable, especially if, like, someone like me, like, I'm a very organized person in my job, and just watching somebody absolutely dismiss all of that is just sickening. It's truly sickening. But the movie is great. The movie is a really fun watch. I give it a 4 on the Chatsky scale.
Powerful 4.
Yeah, powerful.
It's
4.
good.
Yeah.
It's a good doc, even if it is produced by Fuck Jerry.
Yeah, it is produced by Fuck Jerry, but it is a good doc.
Well made too, and it's like fairly entertaining the entire way through. The Hulu one is more of a kind of like a talking head PowerPoint dryer.
Yeah, this one's like a narrative with like illustration.
Yeah.
Which I like. Did you give this a Chatsky score?
4, yeah.
4 on the Chatsky scale. That's perfect. Yeah. This is a great movie. Let's talk about another doc. Let's talk about Abducted in Plain Sight.
Haunting, sir.
Jesus.
You needed some relief.
Yeah.
Reach over, I need some relief.
Reach over, I need some relief.
Charlie, reach over, podcast bot needs some relief.
This movie is also very fucked.
This one's bonkers, dude.
This one's really fucked. And here's the thing, is it gets wackier as it goes on.
You think it's not going to, and it just somehow cranks it up to 11 every time. I'm like,
yeah, because like as soon as like there's like, so eventually, essentially what this movie is about is we have this guy who's a pedophile, and this is a true story. This guy who's a pedophile in the 70s.
The greatest con man of all time.
Yeah. The greatest
manipulator of all time.
Humongous manipulator, puppeteer. He sort of befriends this entire family and then manipulates each of them to sort of blackmail them. Like everyone in the family, he does this to. And the reason he does this is that he wants to fuck their 12-year-old daughter. Insane. Fucking sane. And like the more this movie goes on, the crazier it gets. Because here's the crazy thing, is that she gets kidnapped and then they find her 30 minutes into the movie. And you're like, well, we're 30 minutes
from here?
We're 30 minutes away. But the crazy thing is that this keeps going because the girl, the 12-year-old girl, is now at this point convinced that she's in love with this guy. And this guy has also blackmailed her family to drop all charges and to let him hang out with their kid.
Literally like brainwashed her via like aliens.
Yeah, which we'll talk about more in detail, but there's so much crazy shit in this movie. But the first crazy shit is that he attempts to seduce not just the mother, the father also.
Yeah.
Successfully. Which, like, and that's, like, right at the beginning of the movie. Like, you can see, like, because the father's talking about it in an interview, and you can just see, like, this, like, ashamed look. But, like, hey, guy, it's 2019, you fucking homophobe. But, like...
I mean, they're Mormons.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. They are Mormons. And he's talking about how, like, the guy, what's his name? Birchtold. Who is the manipulator? His name's Birchtold, or B. Yeah, they call him B. So B is like him and his wife don't have sex, and he confides in his friend that him and his wife don't have sex, and then he's like, I need to have sex. I need to have sex, Bob. Which, by the way, both of their names are Bob, which is funny to me. It's like, I need to have sex, Bob. Bob, can you rub it out for me?
I need some relief.
I need some relief. And so the other guy, as a favor to Berchtold, gives him a hand job in a car. And like, this is the like, at this point, I'm like, there's no way.
Sometimes you need some relief.
Yeah, there's no way it gets crazy. It gets crazier than this. And however, it doesn't get crazier. That's the wackiest part of the whole movie.
Yeah. But no, what is crazy is that they kind of just brush over it.
Yeah, they kind of brush over it. It becomes more important later in the movie when they're trying to press charges on him for kidnapping, and they're like, "Well, if you press charges, I'm gonna tell everyone you fucking gave me a hand job." So, and you know what's weird about that is that this takes place over like 6 years, and even after he kidnaps and marries their daughter and gets caught, they're still pretty cordial to him.
Well,
like there's later on in the movie.
They explain that, though. He works his way back in.
Yeah, he worms his way back in, which like...
Because he's the greatest manipulator of all time.
How? Like, that's why it's so crazy. That's why this movie is so crazy. But then, like, when he kidnaps the daughter, she wakes up in the back of his RV, and he's got, like, a speaker there, and he uses a voice manipulator to convince the girl that... Like, I can't make this shit up. Convince the girl that she is half alien. And that the only way to save the human race is for her to have sex with this 40-year-old guy. And to have a baby before she's 16. And if she doesn't succeed, they're going to kidnap her sister and probably hurt her. He's like hurt her dad or something like that. Like, they made all these threats. And by they, I mean he did. Berchtold.
And an alien voice player, and it worked.
An alien voice.
And she believed so well.
She believed this for 4 years, that she was half alien and that she had to have a child with this person, male companion, which they called him male companion.
But I mean, it kind of makes sense if you're getting abused.
Yeah. To try and find a reason
to why it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And so this movie, like,
shit's dark, dude. It's extremely dark.
It gets incredibly dark, and it's a tough watch.
Oh yeah.
Like,
but I do understand now why it's risen to popularity over the last 5 months.
Yeah, because it's crazy.
Because it's insane.
Yeah, and like, I felt physically unwell watching this movie. I was sick. Like, I felt like physically throwing up.
And it's so tough to see the parents explain everything that they did.
Well, because the family is so naive. Like, that's the problem, is that they're so naive.
But I don't like the idea of pinning on them that they're stupid, because like he was so good at manipulating.
Yeah, I don't think they're stupid
it's not
at
their
all.
fault. It's the same thing that happened to the MJ doc. Like MJ convincing the parents to let him sleep in their room so that he can see their buttholes.
Yeah. Look, MJ's the bad man in that situation. Okay, not the parents. And I agree, because I think these parents are just innocent.
Yeah,
they're just completely innocent, and they want to think the world of everybody. They want to, especially somebody that they were so close with, like Bob Berchtold.
Yeah, and they're extremely religious, so that's...
Yeah, forgiveness is key.
Yeah. It's part of it.
Well, and like another thing, too, is that when... now, this is where it's really fucked up, because this guy is so smart. It's such a smart manipulator that when he raped this girl, he didn't go in far enough to show like signs of abuse.
Yeah.
So when they tested her later, they're like, she didn't get raped.
He's a professional pedophile.
Yeah, which is like crazy.
He's a career pedophile.
And they later find out that he did this to a few other girls. And
straight up having like other families and shit.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Like, it's just so crazy, the things that this person does. And like the way that this person is able to manipulate his way around a situation to get what he wants, which is to have sex with 12-year-old girls, which is fucked up. Like, that is fucked up that he is so hungry for this.
Well, don't say hungry.
He is so desperate for this.
He's trying to find a snack, dude. Don't say that.
He's so desperate to have sex with 12-year-old girls that he has broken it down to a life-changing science.
Damn, a real Jared Fogle type.
Yeah, like really, really fucked up.
Dude, why are these pedophiles fucking playing 4D chess? That's so crazy.
Straight up, though, this movie is really uncomfortable and sickening, and
It's
like
disgusting.
It will
I
make
can't
you,
even like. I can't even.
But
It's hard
it's-
for me to even think.
it's
about. I was just
riveting,
baffled
yeah.
the entire time.
It is riveting.
Baffled, dude.
Yeah.
I was playing Roller Coaster Tycoon. Had to turn it off. I was too baffled.
Yeah. I would say from the minute this starts to the minute it ends, it doesn't stop escalating.
Yeah, it's like Three Identical Strangers in the thing where it just keeps building to an insane point.
Yeah. Except in Three Identical Strangers, there is a lull where it's like, wow, what's going to happen now? Not in this movie. This movie just barrels along like a bowling ball bouncing off of pins. Like, it's really, really crazy. And I think it's worth a watch. I think it's worth a watch just to experience the feeling of dread and sadness, and just to be able to feel that emotion from a documentary.
Yeah,
Like,
it's so good.
it's really, really good. This is a great documentary. I'm gonna plan it the same thing I had at the Firefest. This is a 4.
4 stars. I agree.
4-star skis. Are you ready to do our first or our biggest ever undertaking?
I'm
in
excited.
Movie
Yeah,
Epidemic
I think it'll
podcast
be fun.
history. Yeah, we're gonna start our Universal Monster
The thing about
retrospective.
Is there's so many different monsters, so it's gonna feel a little varied, unlike some of our other retrospectives.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like we're seeing the Predator in 6 half-star films.
God damn it.
God damn, I hated those Predator movies. So let's talk about Dracula. 1931, the first Universal monster
Todd
say
Browning,
Yeah,
Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi, who by the way is amazing in this movie.
Phenomenal in this. This is the like. Say what you want. I don't think this movie's a great movie, but I do think that it is so iconic that its importance outweighs the actual film.
It is iconic. I agree with that. And
It invented pretty much all the tropes because this was the first one.
yeah, and I agree with that, and I understand the cultural impact that this movie has, and I understand that this movie was made for a much different audience
Sure,
than a 2019
absolutely,
audience.
Absolutely.
That being said, it's hard to watch this from a 2019 perspective.
Tough. It's not my favorite one. Whereas Frankenstein holds up very well.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Dracula does.
I don't think this one holds up. First of all, it's 70 minutes, and it's crazy boring.
It's extremely melodramatic, and it has that terrible stilted 30s stage acting.
Yeah, except for Bela Lugosi, who's fucking amazing.
Bela Lugosi is amazing. We'll get that out of the way. Like when him playing Dracula is Dracula.
Yeah.
That's simply what you think of when you see Dracula. The reason why Adam Sandler does that voice
Yeah, is because of Bela Lugosi's
is because of
performance.
Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, and the first let's just break this down for a little bit, because the first 30 minutes of this movie is about fucking nothing.
About Norton.
It's about fucking nothing. Because you have the not Keanu Reeves character.
Yeah, right.
The not Keanu Reeves character who's coming to sort of fill out paperwork so he can travel to London, and he can send all of his dirt and his coffin.
Yeah.
That's 30 minutes of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork. I forgot that Dracula has 3 wives for some reason.
Yeah, he does. And they're also all vampires.
They're also all vampires. That's cool. That's a fun touch.
Yeah.
When we get to Dracula's daughter. One character that I really do like though is Renfield. That guy is straight up insane.
Yeah,
he's
the insane asylum
He's
guy?
actually pretty scary.
Yeah, I would say that's the most interesting character in the whole movie. Mina, or what was it? Mina? Was that the name of the girl?
Maybe
in this movie?
That sounds close.
Either way, the main girl in this movie, not interesting at all. Her and her fiance, not interested in
Mina,
that at all.
correct.
Mina, yeah. So her and her fiance, that
Mina
whole
and
plotline, not interested
No,
in
I agree.
that
Like,
at all.
and I've seen many, many, many versions of this.
Of course.
And I don't really think the story is that good.
No.
That's the problem with
I
it.
think the problem with it is that the story isn't that
have it
good.
right there.
Yeah, the character, however, is what's good.
Yeah.
It's not the story.
Absolutely.
Because this story, this is based on the actual book where he goes to London and he brainwashes not Winona Ryder.
Right. It's almost exactly the same as Nosferatu.
Yeah, which is a better movie than
Nosferatu
this,
is the better version of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I love that movie.
I love
actually.
Nosferatu also.
Yeah, that movie's really good. But like this is, and this is also a less scary version because Nosferatu, like let's be real, that's a terrifying monster.
Yeah, well, I have a question for you because mine had like 6 different copies on the Blu-ray. Did yours have music?
Because
I was watching it for like 25 minutes and there was no music and it was super boring. I'm like, let's see what the other versions are like.
Yes, mine did.
I switched to one that had music and it was a little better.
Yes, mine did have music. Now that I'm thinking about it, the copy that I watched did in fact have music.
Okay. Because the Dracula theme's not bad. I like the Dracula theme. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I don't know if it was upon the original release or if it was tossed in later.
I think Dracula theme was.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah.
I do really like
the when they do have just like music, like orchestral music over them talking. That was added in later.
There is one scene in this movie that I fucking love.
Yeah.
And that's the scene where Van Helsing first realizes that Dracula's a vampire.
Yeah.
And he's got like the little box.
Not to say there isn't good scenes in this movie.
Yeah. And he's got like the little box with the mirror. And he's like, "Hey, Dracula, Count Dracula, you want to just take a look at this?" And Dracula like smacks out his hand and is like, "I hate mirrors." That scene is really, really great. And Bela Lugosi's fucking incredible because that scene is so great because Count Dracula doesn't know what's about to happen and he thinks he's still tricking everybody in the room. Right. And the second he realizes, there's a 0.01 second where he realizes it and you see Bela Lugosi's mood change in that time frame. And that's really crazy.
Phenomenal actor. Like
really
truly like a thespian, dude. Yeah. Out here playing a fucking spooky monster.
Yeah. And Count Dracula doesn't really do that much scary stuff. Like, it doesn't even really do that much in the movie.
Renfield is much scarier than the actual Dracula.
Yes, absolutely. Ugh.
Like, I was uncomfortable every time Renfield was on screen.
Although there is like that one scene where he's like at the window of the insane asylum and he's like, "Master!" Yeah. And you just see Dracula standing outside and like that's pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like
Bela Lugosi just like standing there like staring at him. That's uncomfortable.
Have you ever seen Spanish Dracula?
I've not.
They shot it on the exact same set because they were trying to optimize money with different actors. It's on the Blu-ray. I've seen it before though, and it's like a shot-for-shot remake with Spanish actors, and it's honestly a little better, just because like it's actually they kind of entered like it's more entertaining because they're more like they're Spanish actors, so they're like really lean into like the weirdness of it.
Yeah, they're throwing their arms around.
Yeah.
I think that this movie is good,
but there's so many iconic shots in it. Like it's like the use of shadows, I think is
phenomenal.
Great.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Like, I think Todd Browning was probably a very good director.
I think that if I had seen if I had seen this in 31, I think I would have been blown away. But because I think it's just tough because
here's the difference between Dracula and Frankenstein is James Whale is an all-time great director.
Yeah.
Whereas Todd Browning was a very good director for the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So like I like this movie, but I think I would have liked it a lot more back then. But seeing it from a 2019 perspective, and it's tough to shake that. It's tough to be like, okay, let's pretend that it's 1931 and think about the influences and think about what existed at the time. It's tough to do that, you know?
And I think that the fact that vampires are so, even to this day, so popular has a lot to do with this. And I respect that. But we'll talk about it way more next week. When you compare it to Frankenstein, which is an all-time great film, it's just a little tough to watch this one, you know?
And so I don't love this movie. I also don't dislike this movie. I'm going to plant it at 3 stars.
I think 3 stars is the perfect rank for it because there is a lot to like about it, but it is very, very boring.
Yeah, it's way too boring, especially for the 70-minute runtime. Like, it shouldn't have been that boring.
Yeah.
But I guess it's the 30s. You couldn't exactly make it action-packed.
I don't know. There's a lot of great movies from the 30s, so I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I guess King Kong is actually like from the 30s, and that's like one of the best fucking movies of all time.
And a lot of these other Universal monsters from the 30s are phenomenal. So it's like, I don't know.
You know, I had seen this one before, but I don't think I've seen any of these other ones. Oh, you know, I saw the original Frankenstein, but it was a long time ago.
You'll probably like Bride of Frankenstein the most out of everything. Probably
good because I love that character.
But I love Invisible Man. I love Mummy. Yeah. I'm excited for what's coming up.
Yeah, me too. Dracula, maybe not the best thing.
Dracula's
maybe not the best offering.
Wolfman's all right. It's pretty good.
But again, Bela Lugosi, it's worth it just to see Bela Lugosi.
There's another like 5 more Dracula movies, so maybe we'll get into some stuff that we actually
let's get into some weird Dracula shit.
We're getting into that weird Dracula shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of that shit you won't be able to find online. You're gonna have to come and watch my Blu-ray probably.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that we're talking about today. Hey, podcast bot 8,000. Hello, Buck.
Hey.
I'm really excited to be on this podcast today. Do you know why?
Why is that podcast bot?
Because I get to hang out with Buck, my best friend.
Oh, okay.
Buck and I went to an Alicia Keys concert. The concert was bad, but I still had a good time because I was with my best friend.
I don't
Buck.
quite remember this. Was I unconscious at the time?
Buck is my best friend, and we hold hands sometimes.
Okay.
He took me go-karting, but made me watch, but I still had a good time because I was with my best friend, Buck.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see in a couple episodes where this story arc is going. What are we watching next week? Here?
On the next episode of Movie Epidemic podcast, Doc Martin's Doc March continues on with...
Doc Martins?
Doc Martins continues on with Shirkers, and Robin Williams come inside my mind.
Ooh-wee. Some of the top docs of last year, we're talking about them.
Yeah, I'm actually excited. I've heard that Robin Williams one is awesome.
I've heard Shirkers is really good. So
yeah. I've read a little bit about Shirkers. I don't know what is that about?
it's essentially about.
Shut up. Also on next week's episode, Frankenstein. We continue the Universal Monster movie marathon.
And what's our big one? Is there a big one?
There is a big one because
What's got the Star Wars spot?
Apparently, all of these dumb nerds want Buck and Chadley to review the same movie over and over again.
I wonder if Captain Marvel's gonna have to fight a gold version of herself.
Captain Marvel, starring Ben Mendelsohn and a cat.
I've heard Mendelsohn's in it, but I've never confirmed that. I've just heard Mendelsohn's in it.
Dude, I would love Mendelsohn to be in it. I'll love anything with Mendelsohn. Shut up. Thank you for listening to the Movie Epidemic podcast.
Wow.
You can follow the boys on Twitter at Movie Epidemic, Instagram at Movie Epidemic, or Facebook at PunchNerds-Movie Epidemic.
You can also get to our YouTube if you just type on in punchnerds.com.
Yeah, that's true. Hit that YouTube. Hit that subscribe. We want the money. I really just want your money, listener.